Wonderful Thursday. We're going to jump in right now. I got my brother Aaron in the place to be, but before we do that, let's check in, see who we got. Mr. D, Borrow Glass, what up? Santee Public Gallery, Guillotine Cuts is in the building. Reborn Art, go ahead and drop a chat. Where you at? Crave 305, my man, Bag Boy 305. We got, mad people is up in here, so we're going to jump right in. You already know the holding era. Let's get this thing cracking. Era 67 was born in NYC to Puerto Rican parents and moved to Hialeah in 1985, where he began writing. As a member of T.O.P., DME, Puma, X-Men, and TFV crew, he is committed to bombing, posting, stickers, blazing freights, and rocking rooftops. He gets up all over the country and plans to continue painting till his very last breath. Don't get the name twisted. Era 67 has seen many eras of writers come and go while he consistently reps writing culture for the past, present, and future generations of hip-hop culture. Hialeah represent. Dale, bro. What's going on, my brother?
Where we at? What's good,
you know where we at. Where you at?
Over here, you know we represent Dade County all day. Hialeah, the 305. That's where we at, baby.
Word up. It's good to have your face in the place, man.
Definitely. Good to be here. A lot of years, a lot of stories, a lot of history,
Well, then let's just jump right in. Tell us, where were you born and raised, and what area? Yeah, what area were you raised in?
So definitely, I was born in New York City. Parents, like you said, was Puerto Ricans out in the Bronx area. Stayed there all the way till about 84, 85. Made the move down here to Miami. Hialeah's finest, definitely. Back in the days, it was pretty much an outlaw area. Hialeah was very known for some craziness, but you know how we do.
And for our people around the world that don't know what kind of craziness you're talking about, what is Hialeah to the rest of Miami, in your opinion?
So Hialeah is the Hispanic ghetto of Miami. Definitely a melting pot of a lot of cultures back then. We all had different areas in Miami, so a lot of people think Miami is just South Beach and Ocean Drive, and they got to get into the roots and see what Miami is really about. Hialeah is like kind of like a Bronx in a sense. It was a lost borough, right? So that little city right there didn't have a lot of people, but it was known a lot because of what we did and how we established that city.
Word. So you got to Hialeah, you said in 84?
Late 84, early 85, correct.
So what was going on? Were you already into graffiti? Was it bombed? Were you just a little shorty? What was going on?
Well, you know what? At that time, I'm almost I'm a year away from hitting 50. So, I was a shorty back then. So it was a long decades ago. But I was definitely already into the hip hop scene coming from New York City. Breakdancing and all that stuff, listening to the DJs and people, doing block parties, as well as I had a cousin, my name Billy, aka Chic One. So he's the one that kind of got me into the graph game, and I was a shorty carrying his cans and doing stuff like that, and got the taste of it. So from there, took it down to Florida and started off with my first tag, and it was pretty funny. Started off with that tag. I used to write Slice, SLICE, and then from there, of course, evolved into becoming Era 67 throughout the years in Hialeah.
So do you remember when you first got here, who was up in Hialeah at that time?
Oh, my God. I mean, legendary. I mean, Bebop. Bebop was everywhere. I mean, and so happens to be long down the road. He's a crew member now, right? He's part of DME. So that's very fortunate. 7 Up was a crew down there also that was pushing hard. Back then when Cali was pushing Amp Crew, that was really big also in Hialeah. We're going back to, 3A's crew was, when I was coming up, all about art. And then, we established TOP, back in 89. So that was pretty good.
So you just mentioned a few. I remember Amp. I knew it as Artists Moving Places. That was a late 80s crew, right?
Correct, correct.
Who were the president? Who was the president? Who were the writers that were down with Amp Crew, if you
Man,
remember?
you know what? There was a lot of dudes, and if anybody's out there could correct me and add to it, add to it. But I mean, I used to see the guy that I used to see up all the time was Cali. Cali was killing
Hmm.
what they call now the heavens, right? So he was killing, the expressway signs and stuff like that. So I mean, who doesn't know Cali now? He's part of DME also. I mean, that dude was a bomber. You know what I mean? He was out there doing his thing, so that dude was up. Bebop, I mean, man, Bebop was everywhere. I mean, every time he looked, that guy. He was like a Taki, you know what I mean? Every time you look, bebop, 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 you're like, where's this guy from? At the end of the day, dude's from Hialeah, he was pushing everywhere. So it was crazy. It was crazy. Those guys were doing work. Those guys were definitely doing work.
And you mentioned TOP Crew. What did that stand for? And what are the
So
origins of it?
so TOP started, like I said, I was writing Slice and I was bombing around Hialeah and doing things and so funny, of course everybody meets up in schools. So we were all in a middle school at that time and I met up with a homie named Dace. And so he's like, hey, we're gonna start this crew in Hialeah. Um, and the head of that crew at that time is the legendary right now Metaphor that he used to write Uno back then. And so it was me, Uno, Metaphor, that's Metaphor, Dace, Chemo, Tease. Um, who else do we have in there? I mean, Devil. So, we had that crew, it was just crazy at that time. So, like I said, if you ever look at my bio, I always give thanks to Raul Dace because he gave me my name because he
Hmm.
was like, Slice is too long, and you got to shorten it up. So, back then, when we did names, it had to relate to you. So he was
Hmm.
like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are you funny? Are you this? Are you that? So at the end of the day, he's like, let's look at your last name. So my last name has Era in it.
Hmm.
So he's like, yo, that's a new beginning.
Hmm.
Let's go put Era. That's a dope tag. So I used to live off of 68 and 67. So I was right in the middle. So I was like, man, I'm gonna put an avenue on that. So 67th Avenue. So that's how I got Era 67, and from there we pushed it on, and this is where I'm at.
And it's beautiful because not a lot of writers use numbers at the end of their names, and just
Right.
to be part of that tradition,
Yeah,
and so it's going a step further and saying I'm not just Era, I'm Era 67. You know where I'm at, you know where I'm from. Not a
exactly.
ton of Miami writers added numbers to their names, so it's dope that you went and added that and
Yeah,
continuing that tradition.
and I was very fortunate. And then, of course, how it is back in the days, we try to, run the letters together. And then how would it feel if you put, a number on it? And, the seven looked better than the eight. So that's where I went with the seven. So that's how I got it.
Word up. Yes, definitely NYC style. And the way somebody's pointed out Bag Boy, because there were so many writers, if you have Mark 1 and Mark 2, cats from
Right.
different neighborhoods. Those of you just joining us right now, we got my boy Era 67 representing Hialeah, Universal, Chicago bound. You already know what it is.
Yes, yes.
You can show your support if you like what we're doing here in Art Talks. Please pick up a badge, $1, $3, $5. It's all love. And we're just gonna go in. Hialeah is in the building. Let's
All
get it.
day, all day,
So
all day.
uh, so who put you down? Like who got you into writing and took you under their wing at first, if anyone?
You know what? In all honesty, Hialeah in the sense, I'm gonna say, I was bombing by myself when I was doing the slice, and then when we got into TOP, it was a crew thing. So you remember how crew started? You had somebody that was ill with the letters, and somebody that was a character guy and background and fill-ins, and the bombing. So everybody had to have the same bombing style because you wanted to put the crew up. So you wanted to make it look uniform across. So
Hmm.
we all kind of took each other under. And there was always somebody elevated a little bit higher up at that time. Like I said, Uno, at that time, he's the one that kind of was down with Seven Up, and even before he was in Seven Up, so he knew Vice and all those cool dudes and stuff like that. Deck, Tame, Cass, Super Cass, all those cats. So they all got pretty down together. And so he was able to kind of bring that into our crew constantly. And then we kind of got together with them and stuff like that. And but I mean, it was, racking, we got into the racking thing. We did it as a crew. We used to go to Best. If anybody knows, what the Best store. So you used to go to Best and you used to get the designers and you put them up, all the colors, 01, 02, 03 grays and
Yep.
whatever. and we walk out and rack. You know, I mean, we walked out with the colors that we wanted, that we needed for our next Black Book session. You know,
Word. And for those of you that don't know, racking is the illegal obtainance of graffiti supplies. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. By the way, big up everybody that just bought a badge. I see Preserve Rock. I saw two more of you. Thank you so much for your support, man. So you're racking up with your crew. Who was there? Did you have someone that was like kind of a president and motivating y'all? Or
yeah, it was definitely Uno Metaphor. Uno was pushing it. I mean, we used to go to his house. I mean, he was the older dude. He used to you know, he lived with his brother, and we used to go to his house, and you know, we go over there. We had all our markers there. The markers belonged to the crew. It wasn't just designated to one dude.
Oh, that's
so we
dope.
go over there, and you know, we be rocking Black Books all day. You know, and you know, elevating, doing our styles. You know, it was very fortunate that crew. You know, we didn't last too long, but the time that we had, we nurtured each other as into bombing and racking and, you know, all the fundamentals of what graffiti was about. And it was fun. We weren't challenging. We weren't out there, you know what I mean? Going crazy, but we were moving. We started in Hialeah, and we used to catch the rail and catch the bus and go all the way down to US 1 to Pearls to go racking at Pearls.
Hold on.
You know.
So you came down to our neighborhood, Kendall represent.
Hey,
so
let me tell you, you know, Brim, I salute everybody out in Kendall, the Color Ridge area, all those homies around the way. But at the end of the day, you know very well, as much as a lot of people did, that not too many people came to Hialeah.
No, that's very true.
And it's not that I'm throwing an S on my chest, but Hialeah is crazy. It was an outlaw area. So we went to other people's town and do that. You know what I mean? And it was just part of it. You know, we were like, you know, we're gonna go out there and grime and see what's out there, and that's what pushed us to that different level.
What do you think it is about? Because, you know, Miami really, as I'm older now and looking back, we really were boroughs just like New York. And each borough had its own history. And Hialeah definitely has its own history. What do you think are some of like the strong points that Hialeah brought to the table for graffiti back in the days?
I mean, definitely being knuckleheads. I mean, you know, we were very, you know, every person that grew up in Hialeah, at least to me, you know what I mean? And I'm a New York born, but I consider myself a Hialeahan, right? So at the end of the day, to this day, people are like, yo, where you from? In Hialeah. Like, oh, I heard about Hialeah. You know, so at the end of the day, I represent the city that nurtured me, that raised me, that taught me these things, and it made us tough. I mean, we got into a lot of scuffles. I mean, we ended up going to Tropical Park and having that situation when they had the rumble there. And I remember getting bucked by the Metro Day police, you know, horses. I mean, true stories. You know, so anybody that was in that era, you know, that the whole gang thing was kicking in at the same time, but you had the gang with the graffiti, and it was just crazy. And when they had that festival, that Micmac festival at Tropical Park, that was crazy.
Yep.
That was crazy. I mean, everybody that lived that got that memory, either you made it out on time, or you fought your way out, or you got kicked by a horse out, either or.
No doubt. And big on my boy Terms also mentioning TVC is definitely a pioneer.
Definitely. I mean, salute to TVC. You know what I mean? The Vicious Crew. Definitely back then it was KV, it was Terms, as well as Revo out there putting in work. That, you know, those were dudes that I was down with too, and we used to go to school together. You know, I was fortunate to be thrown out of multiple high schools, and I was able to go to different high schools and meet different writers, and that's how we got down, you know. And besides that, I mean, come on, you know it as well as we do. I mean, you had the junkyard, where that was like a graph yard point. Everybody met at the junkyard. You know what I mean? It was.
You talking about the club on South Beach? Yeah,
on South Beach off of Fifth. You know, the junkyard, the warehouse in the back. You know what I mean? That was crazy. You know, you walked in there, you had the black room in there, you know, you had a bunch of stuff, you know, so it was graffiti. You know, we had our own identity, and we were definitely underground. The only people that we had was those folks from Kendall, the buff crew, that they were out there always buffing everybody's stuff on the weekends. So that was crazy.
Tell us about hip hop culture in Hialeah. Who, you know, outside of Graph, who are the DJs, the MCs, the B-boys, B-girls that came out of there?
You know what? It's funny because a lot of it came out. You know, KDP was very big. That I was a part of KDP. So it stands for Kids Don't Play. And then after that, it was Crucial Dance Posse. So we used to go to house parties all the time. Riviera Banquet Hall used to be a big spot, and that would be, you know, another one. Destiny Nightclub, that was another one on the second floor. where, National Supermarket was at. We had Sedano's, Nationals, all kinds of stuff. People used to rent out the apartment building because Hialeah was all apartments, most of it.
Yep.
And if you lived in a house, you already made a come up there. Your family was living right. And we go into Miami Lakes and make that our home in a sense. And we go over there and come out with new bicycles and mongooses that everybody's utilizing now. So that's what we kind of did back then. But we took care of us. We didn't have much. We didn't have much.
What you had.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, come on. I mean, DJ. I mean, we used to have, little lads used to, come out to Hialeah to DJ at Riviera. We Metaphor used to be DJing also. You know what I mean? Then we had so many DJs so many local DJs that were out there doing stuff. I mean, we had a melting pot of everything. I mean, skids. Everybody wore skids, and everybody was, housing. So all those elements were there.
No doubt. Yo, Set Sports, big up. Thank you so much for your purchase of a badge. I appreciate you, man. So tell me a little bit more. What happens when you get out of high school? How does graffiti continue in your life?
Oh, you know what? I mean, graffiti stayed in my life, right? I mean, in that sense, I mean, I had the opportunity, when I got out of high school, to move and to do things. So, I was able to enjoy Andrew here, and then, that was a good opportunity to go out there and paint and do stuff here. And then after that, Mom's Dukes was like, yo, it's time for you to go. It's time for me to cut the wings and for you to go. So I started traveling. So I started moving to different states, and I pushed the graffiti game out over there. I lived in Detroit, painted in Detroit for a little bit. From there, I moved from Detroit. I ended up moving to California, out to the Bakersfield area. Salute to the TLT crew, to Rasta, Hash, Fate, those dudes that were real good with me, and we did stuff there together, they were down with the, RTM crew, King 157, all those cats. So, I was able to paint and with a lot of people throughout different states and stuff like that, as well as, the different lingos of the graph game and of different states compared to what I was used to in the East Coast, just like here in Chicago. I give salute to everybody here in Chicago also. Welcome me with open arms, Flash with ABC crew, Nick Salsa, definitely, Caesar, it's out here, there's everybody that welcomed me. I mean, it's phenomenal. CMK crew, all those cats. And then I was able to that's how I got into Puma crew, you know what I mean? So I got down with Puma crew that was established here in 85, and they're, an established crew from Chicago. So I was very, honored to be part of that crew, which I'm still am now. So, and that's how it kind of pushed out when I got out of high school.
Word. Now, you mentioned two things I want to get into. Well, actually, in the chat, Fellows' name came up, and we got a picture of Fellows right here. And you also mentioned Andrew. So Hurricane Andrew, for those of you who don't know, 1992 destroyed a good portion of Miami, but it made graffiti it just pumped so much graffiti into the city. Let's talk about Andrew and then talk about your boy Fellows.
Okay, so Andrew, so think about this, dudes from Hialeah, catching the rail all the way to the end of Dateland, and then, trying to find a way, meeting up with other riders, or we had a little whip that we took from, one of the, a family or something, or we just, sometimes we walked, and, Cutler Ridge Pennant, man, that thing was monster. You know what I mean?
You said you walked from Dayland to Cutler Ridge?
Dude, we walked from one time. So let me tell you a quick story. It was me, Dace, Metaphor, Uno back then, and a few other cats, and we went to the Pearls over there off of US 1, and we were out there racking. Okay. And we were taking frisket. I mean, we were racking nasty, big black sideways black books, the designers, Pentels, all that. And we got roped. So we were running out there, this and that, and I had my little whip. I had like a Datsun 210 1980. I jumped in that mug, boom, 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 and Uno was ready to fight with the security guy. They caught my boy Day, so he got roped up. So we broke out. We back then it was beepers, so all of a sudden we're beeping each other. Uno calls from a payphone. We're like, "Yo, where you at?" He's like, "Oh," he goes, "I had to walk from Pearls all the way to to Dayland to catch the train back to Hialeah. I'm back over here in Mango Hill, And that's how we did it. It was crazy. The stories are phenomenal.
No doubt. And your boy Fellows, talk about him and his importance.
So the whole situation when so it was 19, I'm throwing it back, right? So we're going 1990, 91. Um, the party line. Everybody knew the party line. So, you're a writer, so you're on there. There's 100 dudes on the line. They're representing. So I'm like, Era 67, TOP crew, Hialeah. He's like, fellows, DME, South Beach, 71st Street, blah, blah, blah. So we're like this and that. So we're like, hey, get into party room 5. So, you go in there and you press it, and it's like, there's somebody in party room 5. So you're like, yo, who's this? And then so you start, that's how you met people. It wasn't
Right.
like social media. So I'm like, yo, yeah, this is what I write, blah, 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 this and this and that. He's like, oh, yeah, this is what I write. Da, da, da. He's like, you're from Hialeah? Yeah. He goes, I'm from 71st Street. And he's like, so we started talking and we got down and he's like, yo, let's meet up. Where are we going to meet up at? He goes, I don't got a whip. He goes, but I'll take the bus, the 71st Street bus that crosses over to 79th to go to the USA Flea Market. And
Yep.
that's how we met. So I picked him up and he's like, yo, let's go hit Hialeah. So it's daytime, we used to do daytime bombing all the time.
Mhm.
So we're over there by Service Merchandise in Hialeah in the back, climbing up this green, garbage container, and we're there bombing it in the daytime and this and that. And, we had a great day together. It was like a field trip, we were bombing everything. And long story short, he was like, you want to get down with DME? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you'll be the only one in Hialeah and this and that. We're trying to push the crew and blah, blah. And that was, DME was established in 90 and I got in 91. And then I got down at that time. Then he introduced me to Fails. And then Fails, was like, yeah, let's do this. So, and that's how we just started from there. And then, of course, I guess they spoke to JP and all these cats. And DME wasn't that big back then, you know. And now look at us, we're very big. I mean, there's half a crew members that I don't know. You know what I mean? That's how big it is. But, it's something that is very honorable for me to be in. And, my brother Fellows is not here anymore, but I still push him every time. And I always represent him, and I represent the crew. And that's how I got down with DME, and I've always been.
Word up. Yo, I just want to point out my boy Bag Boy. I agree. When he says Service Merchandise, I haven't heard that name in mad long, yo.
Who remembers going in there with a pencil and a paper and picking out your item? You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. And big up, yo, too. Dun 2 said that he's originally from that area. Big up my man Dun 2 from the new generation of writers going crazy.
And you know what? Yo, I mean, even on your end too, Brim, you know what I mean? Info was a young cat when I met him. I used to work at United Artists Movie Theater, and I was bombing at that time. It was me and Tusi and Smear, and we used to go bombing from Hialeah all the way to Eden Rock. That was our all-city bombing, moving out of Hialeah to do that. And
we got to Eden Rock. You're talking about on 163rd and the beach?
Yeah, the beach, because you remember, I mean, if anybody knows, you had to find a spot on the boardwalk to bomb. And if anybody remembers that boardwalk was so bombed up, it was crazy. So that was definitely when you knew you had can control with a stock tip, because you had to write real thin to get your name and not go over somebody and start beef. And that's funny too. I mean, me, Tusi, and Smear, we're there. Smear is older than us at that time, and he's in his 90 Civic, and we're over there, where the Eden Rock parking lot is. Yep. And then they used to have those big, like 10-foot walls onto the side. So we're, doing throw ups. We're bombing the whole little bathroom, that little love house thing, and the boardwalk. And there's some guy sitting on a bench there looking at us. So we get in the car, we're ready to dip. And all of a sudden, this guy pulls out a 9mm, hits the glass. And he's like, what the fuck? Oh, excuse me. He's like, what are you guys doing? He's like, we're over here on a sting operation. You over here destroying everything. Long story short, I think Smear got away with it, but I think they took his information. But it's part of the game. It's part of the game.
Absolutely, man. So y'all were definitely some troopers. I remember the stories of my man Mir would walk from all the way from Seals Hood, which was in off of Coral Way and 67th, all the way down to Cutler Ridge bombing, or downtown to Cutler Ridge.
Light poles were it. Remember, the light poles were it. If you could hit the light poles,
yes.
I mean, and with that being said, way back, in the mid 90s, right? DME and FH got together, and shout out to No 7 that I painted with plenty of times. He used to ride on bicycles and steal people's bicycles and ride down the Palmetto and bomb on the poles. You know what I mean? And to put DME and FH up all the time. So it's a unity that DME always had that was really strong. And I've had it with, and like I said, I've been very blessed. And I thank all the writers I painted with. As well as like my little brother, Keds, God bless his soul, and what he's been through, Damn Crew, his brother T, You know what I mean? I mean, these are cats that, I grew up with, and, said FA crew, these are people that I know for 30 plus years that we're still in the game and doing it. And it's not a hobby. It's not a fad. It's a lifestyle. It's part of
No
us.
doubt. Joe, you mentioned one thing, and Furious mentioned another. Barricades. Like these are things I don't see writers real. The
Oh,
barricades and poles. That
oh
you're
my
so
God.
right. When the
You
goal
remember
used to be
those Bob barricades, man. That's it. You hit it on
yes,
point. You know what I mean? Voice right there from MBS. Hit it on point. You know what I mean? That's where it's at. The barricades used to be it. Um, I mean, I remember taking barricades home because I wanted my room to flash. I mean,
word,
it's crazy.
word, word. So take it. You started talking a little bit about your travels. Some of the
Hmm.
places you've painted, some of the writers you've met. How do you see style different from
Oh,
from Miami where you go? What are the
you,
differences you see?
you know what? Miami's has its own identity. Um,
Mm,
so that's I mean we're just a different breed, definitely all the way across. We all got our own styles, but at the end of the day, we all mix it together. You know what? There's no feels like Miami feels, right? There's no backgrounds like the old lines, that look like lightning hit it 100 times. Those are things that we came up with in that aspect. But when you go to these other places like California, they had that that real that East LA style, the long letters. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Philly type stuff.
hmm
Um, Texas, I've been able to paint in Texas. Actually, salute to my boy Esto, from, Inquez, he's out in Texas and Houston, and I painted with him plenty of times, and he's introduced me to a lot of dudes. They got a different style and different verbiage of the graph, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just very welcoming, you know what I mean, that you see all this, or you're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to do a double outline, and they're like, oh, no, that's called a trim. And I'm like, oh, okay, man, a trim for you, a double outline for me. It's just so weird how you
hmm
share it, but at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing. You're expressing your art.
hmm And how do you think like this the internet has played a role? Because before we had the magazines like IG Times or what the little in the Source or Stress magazine.
I
How has
mean,
that changed over
man,
the
that's
years?
changed so much because I mean, if you remember, like I did, I mean, the first magazine and the first book we wanted to cop was Spray Can Art and Subway Art. I mean,
Yep,
come on. Anybody that's a real graph head knows that. Or
yep.
at the end of the day, I mean, you ask somebody what's the first graffiti movie, you know what I mean, and everybody, of course, would they go to Beach Street? Wrong answer, right? So I
So,
mean, you guys already know what it is. So at the end of the day, it's those were the elements that we had, and then after that, we moved up to those right, those small little books, 12-ounce profit, can control,
hmm
all these cats. So now that opened up our eyes, right, to see, oh man, this is what they're doing in the West Coast. CBS Crew was strong back then. God rest his soul. Skate. You know what I mean? And those people, they were out there doing those freights, and they were doing big things. So, we kind of got a little bit of that, and that gave us that flavor to exceed and be like, oh, you know what? We could top it. We could top it. We could top it or get to it because we wanted to be seen, you know? I mean, anybody from Miami always felt that, we're as good as, anybody, like New York City, or we're as good as, overseas and this and that. But, the animosity with us and who got to be better than the next man, that was always hard for a Miami person to understand.
No doubt, no doubt. So you're rolling with several crews now. Talk to us a little bit about your involvement with each one.
Yeah, so how I got down with these crews, I mean, definitely DME, I mean, day one. That's in the heart always. I mean, uh like I said, I thank God for fellows. I mean, great people. I mean, he's never changed from the beginning to all the way to the end. So, salute to him, and we'll all see him one day soon, as
Most
well as
definitely.
after DME, I went around and I
Oh,
didn't.
real quick. Talk about what what each of the crews stand for. Also.
Oh, I mean, DME definitely. When I got into it, it was destroying Miami's environment.
There
That's
you
what it
go.
was. And then from there is destroying my enemies, right? And and of course, what we use all the time when we always talk with one another or tell everybody, don't make excuses.
Word.
I mean, that's where it's at. TOP. When my first crew that I got into, you know what I mean? That's Tribe of Poets. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And so,
word.
so that was very strong for us, because we were into the hip hop, Jungle Brothers back then, you know what I mean? Zulu Nation was strong, so we were pushing that at that era. Um, then after that, I think it was like about 2014. My boy Dean from X-Men Crew, he's out in Tampa area. He runs the Artisan. He put me in there, and he got me down with X-Men. You know what I mean? So I salute everybody, all the X-Men worldwide, of course. And then, like I said, when I came up here to Chicago, I was painting by myself, doing my thing. Got down with Caesar from CMK Crew. We did a humongous, big, illegal DME CMK, and that ran, and real nice before meetings of the style. And so that's how I got down with that. And Four from CMK, Obi, all those cats, they welcomed. So that was very nice. And then I got down with Puma Crew and Diz One, as well as Elam and all these Picasso, all these guys. We met together, did a winter session that was hard. Because it was like, I think it was like 10 degrees and we are painting out there, rocking something. So we rocked it, and we did.
Hialeah boy painting in the coldest of winter.
Let me tell you this. To this day, I go out there, I get arthritis. It kills me. But you know what? It's in your heart. You got to do it. So Puma stands for Please Understand My Heart. And then about 2016, I got down with TFV Crew with Feck. Feck One got me down with that crew. Out from the Brooklyn area. You know what I mean? And it's just I've been very honored to get in that, you know what I mean? And TFV, those fucking vandals, and that's what we are. Apologize the French, but that's what it pretty much stands for. And those are the crews that I pushed, and I'm still pushing. I'm very loyal. I don't believe in taboos and all that, and I keep it loyal with all my people. But definitely, I definitely got to give a shout out, definitely to my boy Deck from 7 Up. We got great stories together. We almost got shot up at 79th Street, Hialeah Pennant, and we handled that. So that's funny in that aspect. But I mean, there's a lot of dudes that I painted with, a lot of dudes that I hold humble to, and to this day, I mean, I'll paint with them whenever, wherever. You know what I mean?
No doubt. So tell us about your creative process. Take us, from the very beginning of rocking an outline to finishing a piece.
Oh man. So I'm one of those dudes that to this day I take a sketch.
Okay.
I sketch it out, and I take it to the wall and I see where it's at, and then of course we change and adjust to the wall, right? That's what we do. We want a bigger wall, but if we get a smaller wall, we got to adjust, and that's where it goes at. But it all depends. What I've learned throughout the years now, what I like to do in an aspect is I try to give honor in the sense of when I paint. So I like to paint for holidays. You know what I mean? So like this one that you got on top over here, I did this one in Orlando. You know what I mean? It's for Thanksgiving, but if you zoom into that harvest, you know what I mean? I got some spray cans in there, but at the end of the day, right by the pumpkin, it's the holiday colors and kind of give, I give thanks to that. You know what I mean? It's a blessing when I'm able to see every holiday, so I do Christmas and, Easter and stuff like that. And some dudes might think, nah, that's corny, but, I paved my way. I've done a bunch of illegals as well as legals and stuff like that. So now I do it for me. It's for me and whoever wants to rock.
And as you mentioned, that's a tradition as well, taking us back to the Subway Art days with the big Merry Christmas train and things of that nature.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
No doubt. Well, for those of you that are just joining us, we with my man, Era 67. We are live all the way, MIA to the CHICAGO. Thank you, everybody that's been supporting by buying a badge. My boy Bagboy 305, much love. Thank you. Peace Rock, thank you for your badge as well, man. We're going to keep telling these stories because Era got them.
And definitely, I got to give a shout out to the 004 for definitely holding down the floor of the team down there. This right here is fly. I mean, come on. What more could I want when you represent the crew like that? So salute to E and Verse and those cats. Much respect, doing their work, doing their thing. Now, you see this right here, this Exorcist. Ooh, geez, right here. This is fire. So this right here was a wall that they gave us to do for Halloween. Okay. And my boy, me and DM, we went there and everybody was doing like, Tales of the Creep and all that stuff like that. And we were like, you know what, we're going to do something to blow their mind. And as you can see, the size of it is very big. So with that, once we finished rocking that Exorcist character, nobody wanted to walk down that hallway right there. That little alley, nobody walked down it. And it was crazy. It was funny but crazy, but it shows that we took it to a different level. You know what I mean? Shout out to the TIC crew, everybody that's up in there, DMs, That's like my little brother right there out here in the Chicago area. So it's all fire. You know what I mean? And like I said, nothing but love they showed me here in Chicago. I salute to all my Chicagoans out here from the north, south, east, west. You know, we're all together out there. Gary, Indiana, you know, Omen, all those cats, you know, monsters. Everybody's doing their work.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, and so when it comes to Miami writers, that ones that were never in your crew or crews, who would you say like you looked up to, like, yo, these cats is putting in work?
Oh man, I mean, crews that I look up to that was putting work. I mean, geez, I mean, High Five, 7 Up,
Wow.
AIM Crew, salute to AIM Crew. I mean, geez, I mean, man, back then there was, I mean, DFC. I
Word.
mean, uh, you know what? I mean, a lot of people forget, and I hold them straight to my heart. Good dude, met him a few times when we were youngins, but that dude was all city monster. Go big, go home. GB, rest in peace. Uh,
Word.
you know what I mean? Too Mellow, those KSN cat when Center was part of KSN. You know, those dudes. I mean, they were coming out of Broward handling business, and GB was going everywhere. You know what I mean? MSG cats. You know what I mean? Chrome Crook going out there, all city bombing. I mean, guys, you got to give it to these guys, man, all day,
No
all day.
doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
I mean, come on, growing up, and I mean, Hialeah, definitely. I mean, 7 Up. I mean, you can't give it more to anybody. I mean, and those dudes is funny because they always kept it 777. And I had the very luxury, like I told you, you know, my boy CJ Deck, you know, I give a lot of, I mean, we rocked the you know, the Franco rooftop, you know, out in Hialeah. You know, that was one of my other, you know, real big era piece that me and him did together that he helped me out with, you know. I mean,
and I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, it's just, I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, there's a lot of history. Hialeah has a lot of history, and a lot of people. I'm sorry that a lot of people didn't make it over there because of the profile that we had. But you guys missed out on a lot of burners. There was a lot of stuff, definitely.
And you mentioned earlier Flea Market USA and the Hialeah Pennant. Both, you know, that was home ground, stomping ground for y'all. Talk a little bit about the importance of each place and how they came to be what they knew. And I don't know if you know this, the flea market is no longer there. Just recently they took it down.
I heard about that, as well as the Opalaga Flea Market. They got rid of it also, you know. So it's sad in that aspect. But I mean, you know, we're pushing up to USA Flea Market. I mean, I got my gold fronts at USA Flea Market.
Yeah,
you know?
Who didn't?
You know, I got my sailor cap there. I got my troop, you know, outfit there. I got my gazelles out there. You know, I mean, Goldie used to airbrush out there. You know what I mean? So I mean, Deck used to airbrush out there. I mean, there was so many riders out there. You know what I mean? Snare used to be out there. I mean, that was like a USA Flea Market was, I wouldn't say just a Hialeah stomping ground, but I think that was a come to meet stomping ground, because you knew when you were going out to Club 1235 or when you were going to the junkyard, or you know what I mean, you were going to I mean, what was that one Jamaican club out over there in Kendall by Town and Country Mall?
Damn. Oh, it was on 107 and Kendall Drive. Island something. I know what you're talking about. We used to be out there a lot. I forget the name.
Yeah, you used to, I mean, come on, you know very well, Brim. I mean, you used to go to USA Flea Market, you get, you know, all yardie stuff, you know what I mean? You get all kind of Irish gear. You know, it was just wherever you want, mixtapes, the latest hip hop stuff. I mean, USA was for everybody. You get a fade there, you know what I mean? And you could fade, you know, so it was, back then we used to
Lime Key
with somebody. Exactly.
Pointed it out.
Thank you.
Flutter Sweets, thank you. Yeah, Lime Key, yes,
yeah,
thank you.
So these are clubs that, you know, and think about it. Once again, that's Kendall, and we're coming from Hialeah, you know. Yeah. And it was funny because when you used to go to South Beach, and they'd be like, and you'd be hollering at you know, at somebody, and you'd be like, oh, so where are you from? And you're like, Hialeah, and they wanted to turn away and run.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so also the Hialeah Pennant. Give us a little bit of history about the Hialeah Pennant.
Oh, man, so Hialeah Pennant, I saw that place, Nurture. And thanks to you know, once again, I'll give it to him, man. CJ paved a lot of ways, also with, you know, Uno Metaphor. You know, we used to go there. Poem used to have that spot, you know. So
same Poem from Wild Crew, Cutler Ridge, right?
That's correct, Poem Wild Crew. And a matter of fact, it's funny. I mean, I got stories of me, Poem, and Fails rocking and almost getting roped you know. But it was, there's a lot of stories, but the Hialeah Pennant back then was very empty. It had open walls, white walls, especially all the way towards the back. That would be the front of 79th Street.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could still see stuff. And then, I mean, the big wow, salute to DK from FA. I mean, come on, when he rocked that power piece with the dollar fill-ins. I mean,
I was there that day. I did a BR that day with Doe helped me with that. Yeah.
That was monster. And then, when you came through the back by where the tracks was at, the one little room by the mobile park, the mobile park was always, those dudes always wanted to rob somebody. So you'd have to go in there, always be geared up, have your bat, this and that, and like, yo, who's looking, who's this? So when you walked in through that little room to that second little room was real dope because I did that, an EA that I did there. It's an old school EA, and then Deck did the deck with the Slit Smart Liquor Bowl coming out of it, and then right next to that, Terms and KV, and I think Revo was there too. They rocked the TVC piece. Keds had a piece in the wall there. Behind us, there was, I mean, that room was like probably one of the hottest rooms. The wall behind us was a Dash and a Ones piece, and then Two Mellow did a Calvin character that was really big, and an electric chair in there. So that room was like a room that came together. It was like everybody, touched it and it made it look beautiful. Of course, you stories that came in there and messed everything up. But I mean, you went in there, you found anything in there, you know what I mean? But most of the time, that was your meeting points to meet writers.
Yeah, man. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Yo, we are rocking live with the one and only Era 67, represent Hialeah, Chicago, all that. So tell us, what are you doing with art nowadays?
You know what? Right now, I kind of ventured out. I spoke to one of my homies before, and I'm like, you know what? That Lupa's for my mom. She's still up and pushing it, but you always got to give love and shouts out to Moms Duke. So love you, moms.
Word.
So at the end of the day, right now, when I rock pieces, I do my name and stuff like that, but I kind of challenge myself and try to give honor not only to people that passed away, but also people that are living. You know what I mean? Because it's always good, as you can see, a lot of cats and what we're known for, right? Graph writers is, God forbid, such and such pass away. Oh, let's rock a piece for them. Well, I want you to see your piece while you're living, while you're breathing.
Word.
And if nobody's seen my Instagram yet, I rock something for Brim, and that's out of love. So at the end of the day, salute to you, Brim.
Oh, no, much appreciated. I got that on here. We'll get there.
And the STV crew, you know what I mean? So I mean, your homie R, good peoples, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people, man, that Miami has not given props to, or not even Miami, let's say the nation, the world. And you know what? We're on the map, and dudes like SK and other dudes that are going to different countries and they represent. Anytime you put that Dade County, that Miami, that 305, the Hialeah, the Color Ridge, the this and that, you're putting a stamp for us, and you put in that flag and letting them know that we're in the game too. We've been here.
No doubt, no doubt. That's definite. My brother I have a brother named Jacob who lives in Japan, and a while back Rage went over there, and my brother walks into a nightclub in Japan and is hearing somebody on the mic, Cutler Ridge is in the house, 305 is in the house, and this is Rage on the turntables in Japan, and nobody know what the hell he's talking about. Yeah, my brother.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures of Rage when he was in Japan, and you know what? I've been very fortunate in the sense I've traveled a lot throughout the world. I mean, I've been very honored to paint at in Belgium. I've painted I bombed in Turkey and Istanbul. I mean, geez, in Thailand, bombed there. In certain places you want to rock a piece, but at the end of the day, you're like, you know what I mean? Because they got their own rules, and if you get roped up and locked up in somebody else's jail, they ain't trying to get you out.
Yeah, you could be 30 years up in that place for putting up a sticker or something.
Over here, you could get a meal and watch cable. So, that, you got to be careful, but you still want to go out there because it's in you, and you do it. Japan, I mean, I've hit a lot of places, but I've been very fortunate. Cancun, stuff like that. And it's crazy now with the social media, how you can reach out. Hey, I'm going to be in this town. Anybody looking out, anybody could give me information where, I need to go. And they put you up on that because they see where you come from, your history, and you could go from there. Right now I was in Atlanta not too long ago, and I'm like, yo, anybody's out here, I want to hit a spot, this and this and that. crew member, you know what I mean? My boy broke, holler at me, hey, you know what? Go to this spot, go to that spot. Boom, I go out there, and it's funny. I'm putting up stickers and bombing, riding around in a little scooter, you know. And at the end of the day, it's funny. I'm seeing, you know, everybody from Miami up there. I'm seeing, Depp, and I'm seeing, I mean, who did I not see? That's the question. Info, me and Info's always back and forth. I'm like, yeah, I see you, I see you, I see you. So it's funny because the sticker game has helped a lot also in the game.
No doubt. And talk about that because you are one of the writers that definitely gets into the sticker thing.
Yeah.
What's the difference between catching ties and putting up stickers in your opinion?
Well, you know what? I love hand styles. I love to bomb all day. You know what I mean? Give me a nice chisel, and I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Back in the old days, if anybody remembers really good, you know how you used to go to the little, grocery stores, and they used to mark the canned goods with that ink, with the little. So what we used to do, remember, Brim, hopefully you remember, we used to get the eraser from school, cut it, put it in there with tape, and that would be, our four-finger, marker.
Yep.
That's what we did. So, I love that. And you see, in a lot of pictures, I bomb, even in the back, I love bombing. But at the end of the day, the sticker game is so quick and so clean, and it runs, and you know what? It blends in. You know what I mean? That's a dope picture there. That's a mission right there. That was like about a good, I think it was like 15 degrees that night. Me and my boy, we went to go rock some freight, and it was phenomenal, but I couldn't feel my fingers later after that. It was crazy.
No doubt. Again, Hialeah repping in Chi-Town with the jacket on and all that.
Yeah. But, the sticker game is phenomenal, and I could put up the crews, and I could put it quick, and you know what I mean? Nobody knows who you are. You just walk up and put it. And the problem is, we've been in the game, so it's not, if you look over your back, you're looking to get caught. Just do it like it doesn't mean anything, like you're supposed to do it. And that's a good sticker game. So I put stickers up everywhere. And, shouts out to Miami Sign Shop. You know what I mean? Dave and those cats, they always looks out and do that and sends me my stickers and stuff like that, as well as, all the other sticker companies I kind of played with. So it's a good thing. Very definitely a good thing.
No doubt. Have you ever got into any other merchandise aside from stickers, like shirts, clothes, anything like that?
And you know what? I did a shirt before and stuff like that. And I know the way the graph game is evolving is about bread and people eating. And I love to take care of my own squad, home bases of all the time and stuff like that. But I've never been one like that. I mean, I got canvases and stuff. If I go to a gallery where somebody's doing something, but as in like pushing out there and doing it, I mean, I don't dock anybody that do it. Get your bread, do your thing. I'm moving on it. But me personally, for me, graffiti is fun. It's the point of me getting into graffiti was to go against the system, not to go against another writer. Later on, it was, hey, I want to burn this writer. I want to do this. I want to do that. But it was about going against the system, beating the system, being a rebel, having fun with it. When you got to make it a job, the day that I got to make graph a job is a day I'm not doing it no more. And that's going to be hard for me. I want to laugh and I want to do this. I want to go to the bathroom dressed up in a shirt and a collar shirt at a nice restaurant. When I come out, the bathroom is bombed up, and it's me.
That's what I'm talking about, no doubt. So, and talk a little bit about for you, the difference between painting legally and illegally.
Oh, okay.
Your thoughts on it.
So I learned a lot. Painting legally, I learned a lot because everybody remembers back then we didn't have the tools. I mean, was it Magic Marble tips came out, and we used to raid Home Depots and stuff like that, right? But prior to that, it was messing with the tip. So you used to get the tip and cut it and make it a white cap and suck up half of your paint, or you used to get perfume and cut it. Clever was one from TVC. Clever, he used to get perfume tips. He came out with a round joint to look real nice. And people, you used your mind for it to make those tools. But back then it was can control. It was how quick. How many times as old school riders we went back and forth, and then sprayed it to get that straight line. The thinner the line, the better. Yeah. And so when you did it, you rocked your piece, you did your background, and then of course it was like that. Okay, now it's time to do that final outline. It better be fire. I got to do my 3D on point, etc.
Scariest. It was so scary to do a final outline.
And anybody that went really close, by the time you went home and look, you were missing half of your finger skins because you were scraping against the wall,
Yep.
It was just like that, to where now when you paint legal, you got all these different tips, the banana tip, the this tip, the fat tip, the da da da. So you got those tools, you got time to do it. At my old age now, you know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, I got to put a light when I want to paint illegally at night, you know. Back then we knew what the colors were under the cans, you know. We used to write them, you know. We knew what we were gonna do, you know.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, you could come back and clean your stuff up. You know what I mean? Now you could come and clean your line and make it look this and make it look thinner and this and that. To where I do it sometimes. A lot of dudes that I paint with, they're like, "Yo, you know, how come you don't come back?" And I'm like, then I'm not challenging myself.
Right.
You know,
you just pointed out something. It reminds me because I learned from AIM Crew. I'm not saying they're the only ones that did it, but I learned from AIM Crew to write the colors of your can, the colors of your names on the bottom of the can. But
correct.
nowadays, the new school paint has the dome of it is the color of the paint.
Yeah. So you back then, you know our colors back then. I mean, anybody that knows Florida, our colors back then, oh, nice. That was a nice flare tip. I bombed a few tankers that night. That was really nice. Um, you know, it was pastels. Pastels, you know what I mean? You had, you know, the pastel yellows, you know, the baby blue, the slate blue, you know, your slate green, right? Jade green, jungle green. You had, you know, all these colors. So you're so close to each other when you were doing blends, right? You had to flip them over and you would write the colors, especially doing illegal, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what you did, you know, especially when you're at a pennant, especially the hospital pennant. Jesus Christ. The hospital pennant, I mean, if you didn't pay attention, I mean, I heard a zillion stories. How many people fell through the elevator shaft? I mean, I can't, you know, that place was super dark. You know what I mean? The high five pennant, that was super dark. You know what I mean?
Yep. And Deck is pointing out, calling them Art Deco colors. I was thinking Miami Vice, the same thing. It's like...
And when Krylon came out with those California colors, poof, that was monster. Those big colors, you know, those. I mean, come on, those were the best. It was crazy. It's just Miami. What we did. That piece right there is a production that me and Keds did in California. So he went to go visit his brother. He calls me, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, I'm in Cali. You want to go hit Venice?" So I jump on an airplane. I go over there. We rock the piece. And once we rocked the piece, the guys driving around, because I tried to contact STP crew because that's their wall, and they wouldn't answer back. So we ended up rocking that on a Thursday, illegal. The wind was ridiculous, so the blends came out, I mean, as good as they can come out. And we rocked it and we left. And I flew out the next day.
Word.
So so I call it the high five pennant, or because, you know, MQ had a piece down there and stuff like that, and Seam had a piece down there, but it was the wow pennant. The wow pennant.
Which one are you referring to? Down south?
The wow pennant that was by 95.
Oh, hold on. Oh, right. Are you talking about off of by Brickell?
Yeah, right by downtown, that one.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So if anybody went all the way down, when you went into that building, not many people went all the way down to the last floor. It was super dark.
Right.
MQ had a piece there. Dash and Seam had a piece there. I mean, that's probably like the only piece that I've seen that MQ really did. I even sent them that picture one time because, you know, we used to go take pictures of stuff like that. And you took it with, you know, with that 110, and the flash came on and it came out great. It did. If it didn't, you know what I mean? So that's why we called it that. I called it that because it had their pieces on the bottom.
No doubt. Well, we only got a few minutes left. What are some things you'd like to share with our audience?
You know, keep it real, guys. Keep it real from day one. Give salutes and shout outs to people that opened up the doorways for you. If you're a new writer, shout out to all the old school writers from, you know, 80s up. You know, I salute all you guys. We're still in the game. We're still here. We're still breathing. The ones that we lost, you know what I mean? We'll see you soon, you know, and we'll be up there and we'll be rocking also. And definitely shout outs to all my graph writers. Shout out to you, Brim, for representing and pushing the crews out and pushing Miami Graffiti out. And shout out to everybody in all the cities and countries that I've been with: Chicago, California, Houston, Florida, New York City, Atlanta. You know, all you cats, I salute you, and I'll always respect, and I'm down to paint with whoever, whenever. I don't care if you started yesterday, and I don't care if you're 100 years into the game. It's all about having fun and rocking and showing each other skills and doing it. Shout out to my crew, DME, definitely always representing, and we'll be here till day ends. And we'll keep
No
on
doubt.
putting
No
forward.
doubt. Talk a little bit about, so now we're just going to go back in history for a moment. When
All right.
you think of Miami graffiti, whether it's associated with you or not, what are some pieces that just are legendary to you, just come to your mind? It's like, this is Miami Graph right here.
I had one of them for sure that I had an honor to be part of. The second time they went out to rock it was a Vice piece that had the Jester, the Jolly Jester character,
Okay.
off of across from the Tasco wall. That was a really dope piece. Illegal, humongous. We used scaffolds for that, and everybody was there hands on. So that was really dope, and that was a Vice piece there. So that was good. Definitely downtown. You know what I mean? The Inkheads, that basketball burner.
Oh, yeah.
Merlin's wall out there was nasty. He always was rocking, doing stuff. I mean, all day, every day. Tropical Park, Amol City Wall. I mean, who Amol City Wall 1 and 2.
Yes.
DK and those. You know what I mean? The Magic piece. You know what I mean? Right off of the road. I mean, come on. I mean, Damn Crew Wall. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? The Love House. I mean, all the pennant pieces. I mean, things that ran. I mean, outside on the train on the train side, the track side. I mean, there's so much, Brim. There's so much. I just give shouts out and credits to all of them, all of them, all of them.
No doubt.
I
Doubt.
think
What's amazing to me is we were all, when I say we, like all writers from Miami, I'm sure this is the same for all communities. Like, we were kind of punk kids running around the streets. It's racking paint, trespassing, bombing, painting. And so many of us have come to make careers out of this now.
Yeah.
Whether it's tattooing or shirts or stickers or really doing murals as a full-time hobby. What do you think about that transition for graffiti to open up so many doors for so many people?
You know what is phenomenal? And it's funny to this day, not because of anything, but you know how many writers, as well as you and I know, we could go anywhere, run into a writer, be like, oh, such and such, let me tattoo you, da-da-da, etc. I don't have one tattoo from one writer. I don't have any tats. You know what I mean? But that's just me. And I don't find anything wrong in it. But what could make you feel more comfortable when you walk into a spot and you know that guy rocked the wall, okay, and now he has the proper tools to do it on your body? Come on, man, that's another level. That's just, I got to tip my hat to them. And they're still doing I mean, come on, you're doing color blends with the needle now. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
No doubt.
Definitely.
No doubt. So what's the final thing you'd like to share with our people before we out of here?
You know what? Definitely, it was an honor to be on here. I appreciate it. As you can see, I'm always representing. It doesn't matter where I'm at. That right there, that's a nice little thing.